Hey guys, what's up? I couldn't resist. There's a lot of girls that I want to talk about in JRPGs, and here's yet another video with co-protagonists. Now, there's a lot of games, a lot of JRPGs that have like two co-protagonists, or maybe some of them have two female co-protagonists, maybe three, maybe five in those harem games, but I'm not going to cover those. So here I am once again, but now with my 10 favorite co-protagonists, female co-protagonists in JRPGs. Let's begin! Number 10. Lyn. When I made a review of this game a long time ago, I complained about the fact that the tutorial was too long and that it felt as if the developers were treating us like total idiots. But if there's one thing that I liked about it, that in fact got me into actually enjoying it somehow, was Lyn. She is one of the three main characters of the game, a character with a lot of charisma and a difficult situation she overcomes both by herself and with the help of her companions. A lot of people will argue this with me, but it really does feel like Lyn grows more than most female characters in previous Fire Emblem titles. We journey with her, and we worry about her, we cheer for her, and we practically want to play with her for as long as possible, always seeing her mature in her own natural way. In my opinion, she's one of the best well-written characters in the franchise, turning from a nice, charming heroine to a total female badass. Number 9. Hero. Now that we're talking about badass, we can't go on until we discuss the queen badass in JRPGs, and that is Hiro from Idea Factory's Spectral series. She's the protagonist in the first one for the PlayStation 1, Spectral Force, and she's also literally the mascot of the very underrated franchise, with most of its games never released outside Japan. So in the West, we first met her in Spectral Souls as one of the main protagonists of the game, also making several appearances in other Spectral titles. Then she was one of the main characters again in Chaos Wars for the PS2. So Hiro, or rather Hilo as it's written, but pronounced Hiro by the Japanese, is a half-devil, half-human that we often see her struggle overshadowed by her pride as a warrior and her natural leadership cunning skills. When I first played Chaos Wars, I immediately fell in love with her and I wanted to see what other games she appeared on. You all know I'm a huge fan of Spectral Souls, so I technically love that game just because of her. I just wish I can one day play the first Spectral Force so I can understand her background a little better. Number 8. Avril van Vloer. Wild Arms 5 has two main heroines, Rebecca, the red-haired lady, and Avril van Vloer, the mysterious amnesiac young girl. However, the entire plot revolves around Dean, the protagonist, and her, not about Rebecca, which makes Avril, in my opinion, the canon co-star of the game. Now, during almost the entire game, she's your classic kind, quiet, tender, and fragile character that every now and then comes up with something really mysterious and interesting comments, which are always making us wonder who she really is and what exactly is her connection with everything surrounding the game. And even though she has amnesia, we actually see her grow in many unexpected ways, making at least me love her even more. But really, you gotta see the whole story through to understand why she's so awesome as a character, otherwise she might come off as just so stereotyped anime girl. So yeah, Beat this game and you'll see what I'm talking about. Number 7. Ellie Van Houten. Xenogears, in my opinion, is the absolute best story ever written in a JRPG. So having the co-protagonist of the game, Ellie, on this list makes a whole lot of sense, and I'll tell you why. This is a character that comes and goes for almost the entire game, having several crucially important parts in the game in which we see her development as a human being and all the dark secrets behind her life. Also, her personality is so enchanting that she literally breaks the stereotype and gains your approval in several dire circumstances. In fact, I think even though this game is highly rated, and for a very good reason, Ellie is ironically underrated. I rarely see her in these kinds of lists, while the game itself gets a lot of praise almost everywhere you go. Well, maybe they don't feel the need to praise the gorgeous heroine that comes with. So I hope this video makes some noise so she can get the attention she truly deserves. After all, she's quite an amazing character that literally makes the difference in the entire game. Number 6. Kos-mos. I already talked about Xion, the main heroine in Xenosaga Trilogy. Now it's time to discuss her co-star, probably the most popular female android character in the history of JRPGs. She has made several appearances in other Monolith Soft RPGs like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or Project Cross Zone. In fact, she is so beloved by fans that you might think she's overrated. But maybe that is if you haven't played the trilogy, especially the third game, which is the conclusion to the series. Well, let me tell you why she's so cool. She's a character that we see struggling the entire trilogy, not because of Xion trying to teach her human common sense, but also because she is self-aware of what she truly is, always trying to find, however reckless, the reason behind human behavior and their decisions throughout life. In exchanging all these perspectives, Kos-mos grows as a character until finally accepting the reality that surrounds her, getting to a full development in a very beautiful way. And that's why she's one of the greatest android characters in the history of gaming. Number 5. Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is one of the 5 main characters in Odin Sphere, and yes, I know you knew she was going to be in this video. Well, of course, I'm a big fan of her, because I had absolutely zero expectations of her when I first played the game, almost when it first came out in 2007. I say this because during the first minutes of the game, she looked like the fragile little helpless sister that was going to just keep being weak and useless. To my surprise, she takes off extremely well during the first missions of her story, and how she overcomes every single trial imposed on her, how she matures as a character, getting a better understanding of her cursed fate, is what made my experience in Odin Sphere one of the greatest in my gaming life. Also, and no spoiler alert since everybody knows it already, her romance with Oswald is one of the best I've seen in a JRPG, not quite far from the cliché, but truthful enough to be considered original. Number 4. Salas. Salas, or Seals, or Sealis, or if you guys know how to properly pronounce her name, be my guest and put it in the comment section below. Anyway, my explanation on Salas requires a huge spoiler, so I won't disclose much about her to avoid it. I think the people who have finished Final Fantasy VI will probably understand why, and will obviously see for themselves how she's one of the best characters as one of the several different protagonists in the game. I know there's a huge fan base for Terra, and I respect that. I liked her as well, but as the game progresses, I feel like she became weaker and weaker in terms of story and character development. In Salas' case, however, the contrary occurs. She is the one that grows the most, in my opinion, overcoming a certain grief and a really complicated situation that made me easily put myself in her shoes. I wish I could explain more about her, but I don't see how without spoiling the game. Let's just say there's a certain scene halfway through the game that made me fall in love with her, becoming the only reason, and I mean it, on why I still think this is one of the best Final Fantasy titles ever made. Number 3. Mariya Traitor. There's a little controversy here that almost made me include this game in my top 10 most controversial JRPGs. The game's publicity didn't exactly pull off the same trick Namco did with Tales of Cestiria of selling us a protagonist that wasn't actually the real protagonist. Well, let me tell you something. In Star Ocean 3, it was almost the same case. So spoiler alert! I'm so sorry, but I can't explain anything without the spoiler, but I'll try to be as vague as possible. Sophia Steed is considered as the canon heroine here, even though she's only like 5 hours in the entire game! You do the first mission with her and then she just ups and disappears for almost the rest of it. Halfway through the game, we meet the real co-protagonist, Mariya Traitor, and all of a sudden, everything starts revolving around her. Even fate becomes somewhat irrelevant at some parts of it, leaving all the plot attention to Mariya's struggle as she becomes closer to discover the awful truth surrounding the entire universe of Star Ocean. I love Mariya. I can't help it. For some reason, I feel so identified with her in a way that I have never been able to explain. I say this because most of you will probably say that she stole the place from previous characters in this list, but I just loved her personality and background so much that I still think nowadays she's one of my favorite characters of all time in a video game. Number 2. Silmeria. I already explained why I love the 3 Valkyrie sisters, and to be honest with you, having Silmeria inside Alicia's body for a huge part of the game became a big influence on me as a storyteller. The idea of multiple personalities being a paradox with a body hosting 2 spirits, 2 souls, was so interesting to me that I really had never seen something like it before in a video game. So I grew very fond of both characters. Now, I talked about Alicia on the first video. Now it's time to tell you how much I enjoyed Silmeria as a character. Granted, she doesn't grow much in the game since most of the attention is drawn to Alicia's struggle, but the way she handles every situation in the entire game, whether she succeeds or fails, is what made me truly appreciate the kind of character she is in Valkyrie Profile. Even if she's mostly using Alicia's body to express herself. Also, there's this event near the end of the game that gave the satisfaction to me to know that everything I had suffered through this hard JRPG was totally worth it. Number 1. Chris Lightfellow. Chris is one of the main protagonists in Suikoden 3, and I love her above every single character in this list for 2 reasons. 1, because if you multiply everything I've said about the other girls for 2, the result is the amazing character development Chris has in the game. Not only is her personality in jeopardy for being both a dedicated knight and a helpless daughter looking for her lost father, but also all this happens during her questioning of her position in the army and her emotional crisis in life itself. The second reason is because she is proof enough that female characters don't need to be sexualized one bit to be outstanding characters in video games, with a huge amount of fans out there that literally couldn't care less about her physical attributes. She's beautiful and she doesn't need to show off to prove it. So when I played this game, I also fell in love with Chris, and to date, she is my absolute favorite heroine in a video game, dare I say even more than Lenneth Valkyrie or any other female protagonist ever in the history of JRPGs. That's it, guys. Those are my 10 girls co-protagonists in JRPGs. Don't forget to share your own as usual, and do not forget also to check my honorable mentions in the description box below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time.